its own secretive spacecraft. Leroy Chow is a former NASA astronaut. During his time at NASA, he flew on 4 space missions, so he knows what he's talking about. Good to see you, Leroy. Always exciting to see a launch. What is the significance of this one on Falcon Heavy, and what's on board, which of course is all a bit hush-hush?
Sure, absolutely. Well, the X-37B has been in operation since 2010, and this is its 7th mission, the 4th mission for this particular space plane, launching on a Falcon Heavy for the first time. That says to me it's going into a higher orbit. This is going on a more powerful rocket than previous ones, so it's probably going into a new regime in space. As far as its mission, of course, it's classified. We don't know. We can make some educated guesses. Probably testing some new sensors, going to do some orbit maneuvers, maybe some other operations in space. It's going to be in a higher radiation environment, so maybe that's a part of it. But very interesting stuff. You mentioned before the seeds. NASA has put this experiment on board, but frankly, we've been flying seeds to space for a number of years, so I'd be kind of shocked if this was one of its primary missions.
Yeah, so they want to keep it hush-hush, obviously. How can they keep the mission hidden from prying or just curious eyes? How do they do that?
Well, sure. So, of course, our adversaries are monitoring everything they can. They're looking for radio emissions, anything else, just like we would be on their missions. And so what we rely on, what they rely on is encryption, right? So all the data, all the signals coming down are going to be encrypted as our commands going up. So in that way, we can keep things secure. And I'm sure, everyone's encryption is pretty good, especially in the military realm. So probably, we'll be able to do a pretty good job of keeping things secret.
Yeah, it's interesting. On its last mission, the X-37B experimented with the notion of, I think it was converting solar energy and transmitting it back to the ground, all very complicated stuff. But it does speak to the breadth of not just exploration in space, but experimentation, doesn't it?
Sure, absolutely. Space solar power is not a new idea. It's been around since around the 1970s. Some practical technical problems to overcome. For example, beam spread, microwaving the energy back. You've got a lot of losses through the atmosphere, beam spread, and you're going to have a huge dish to try to collect it, and you're going to lose most of the energy you generate in space. And it's hard enough to keep a solar farm on the ground operating efficiently, so even more challenging in space. But that being said, they may be experimenting with it and some other technologies that we're not certain of.
Yeah, this launch was delayed a couple of times, and while it was delayed, China, which the US considers its chief competitor in a modern space race, it sent its own secretive spacecraft into orbit. How competitive is space these days, and is militarization in space a concern or just a fact of life?
Oh, well, it is both. Right? It's a concern. It's a fact of life. It's very real. The civil space program is much more visible in any country. Military space, frankly, has got to be a lot more money and effort spent on military space in all countries. All the programs, of course, are classified, or nearly all of them. So China's space plane, obviously, they've been doing this for several years, obviously capable. Probably doing the same kind of missions and experimentations. They're trying to keep up, and we're trying to keep ahead. And so, we can only guess as to what the purpose of their space plane is for, but it's probably reasonable to guess that it's similar to the objectives of the X-37B. So the great game continues as it were. And, you've got China up and coming in both its economy and its military capabilities. Obviously playing for the long game and wanting to be the leader. Fortunately, for us, we are still in that position, but we can't let our guard down. We have to keep moving ahead.
So I guess normally at this time of the interview, I'd say, what would you consider a successful outing to be? But we won't know.
Well, that's true. And one of the things that impresses me about the X-37B is that it has flown missions for around 2 years in duration. That's pretty incredible. And it comes down and lands on a runway all on autopilot. as far as we can tell from externally looking in, it's been a very successful program. And so obviously very capable vehicle. And as we've talked about, we can only kind of make educated guesses as to the purpose, but obviously an important program.
If you hear anything, let us know. Leroy Chow, always good to see you, mate. Thank you.
Good to see you. Thank you very much.